Dr. Ott, we, in a probably all too inadequate way, would sometimes attempt to lift up conversations about sex in our youth ministry in our church, and it was a kind of a fraught issue because parents were all over the lot in what they kind of were hoping would happen. And if you had some common theme, it would be, we're kind of expecting you just to tell them, don't do it. You understand that phenomenon, but you are counseling a more nuanced approach to it. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, so there's actually a great sexuality education program for 8th graders that's out of the Disciples of Christ in Texas. There's a woman who started this program in her area, and one of the phrases she coined was not just say no, just say no, K-N-O-W. So her point was, we can still tell kids we want them to wait, but we can do that by giving them the knowledge they need to actually be able to make a good decision to wait. And so I often say, I want kids to say no now so that they know how and when to say yes later, so that we're preparing them for making good decisions. I think that means we need to do at least 3 things in our sexuality education in our faith communities. We need to switch from a behavior-based approach, where we just pick one behavior, we say it's bad, don't do it. There's a famous sexuality educator, Saul Gordon, who said, what most kids hear is, sex is dirty, save it for marriage. Well, that's not what we want people to think, and kids know it's not true. What we want people to know is sex and sexuality is a sacred part of who you are. It's important to make good decisions about who you're going to share that with. Now, that's a much better message, and it's a message they can live into the rest of their lives. So we want to switch it from it just being a behavior to thinking about the kind of values that should be present in someone's relationship. We also want kids to think about the level of communication that's needed. I think a lot of kids, a lot of adults, just fall into sexual behaviors because media says it should be spontaneous, we shouldn't think about it. That can lead to abuse, but it can also just lead to confusion and not feeling great about our choices. So communication is extremely important. And then the third thing that I often try to teach teens when I go to youth groups is, what's the difference between a feeling and a behavior? Right? And so in our Christian language, we would say that we might have desires, but we make moral choices about the way we're going to behave. So yeah, our bodies have feelings all the time, and we might not be able to control them, but we certainly can control how we act on them and in what relationships we choose to engage in certain behaviors. And those are moral choices that we make in our lives. So if we could shift the no, don't do this to what kind of values are in your relationship? How do you know how to communicate about what your values are and what you're looking for in a relationship? And can you take a second between recognizing a desire or feeling and making a moral choice about how to behave in it? I think our kids would be much better prepared to be in healthy sexual relationships.